Today I'm going to show you how to sew a super easy beginner's crayon and marker holder. This rolls up, it'll fit in your purse, your backpack, or just to have around the house for your little one. This is my daughter who just turned 3 and she loves to tote this around. The pattern pieces for this project are in the link below in the description box, or if you're watching from our website, alohasewingcompany.com, welcome and sew along. You're just going to print out your 2 pages, your pattern pieces, A1 and A2 like you see here, and you're going to cut along that gray dashed line on page A1. Once you have that, you're going to overlap this page onto A2 and line up those 2 stars that you see there and tape or a glue stick this together. Cut out your pattern pieces and this is what you have. You're going to use the big main pattern piece and trace it onto your fabric and cut 3. I'm going to show you how I do this so that it saves you a little bit of time when you're cutting. One of your fabrics is for the crayon pocket and the other 2 is for the front and the back side of your crayon holder. So what you're going to do is get your pattern piece and lay it right on top of your fabric and trace all the way around it. To make this quicker, I go ahead and have this fabric with another fabric already layered. This is going to be the front and the back of my crayon and marker holder. And then I also get the pocket piece fabric and I stack it all 3 together so that way I can cut it all out at one time. Again, this is going to be the front, this is going to be the back, and this is going to be my pocket piece. This fabric is going to be my pocket. So what you're going to do is to fold this in half with the wrong sides together, and then you're going to press a crease right at the fold and then iron that fold flat. For this entire project, make sure the fold of this pocket piece is at the top with the open raw edges at the bottom. Now you're going to get the piece of fabric that's going to be the inside of your crayon marker holder and get your pocket piece and line it up all the way at the bottom. Make sure the fold of this pocket is on the top and the raw edges are at the bottom. Pin or clip it in place if you need to, and sew along the left and right side of your pocket piece using about a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Here is mine sewn. You can see I kept it right close to the edge, and that's because we're only sewing this line on each of these sides so that it stays in place. You won't see these stitches when it's all finished. Now go ahead and grab your pattern piece, and at the bottom of the pattern piece, you can see that I've made 1-inch guide marks for your crayon pockets so that you don't have to do any measuring. Go ahead and line up your pattern piece with the bottom of your fabric and make little marks, very small, less than 1/4 inch marks, right below each of my lines on that guide. I've also included a measuring guide so that you can line it up with each of your small little lines at the bottom of the fabric to the top of your pocket piece, and draw a line straight down connecting the top of your pocket all the way to the bottom marking for each of your markings. To make sure to use a dissolvable pen or a piece of chalk like I'm using so that you don't see this when the project is all finished. I'm using a tailor's chalk and I'm going to make my lines all the way down my entire holder, and I will use those lines as sewing guides to make these little crayon marker pockets. Alternatively, you don't need to use that guide. You can use a piece of cardboard or something with a straight 90-degree angle, a ruler, whatever you have on hand. Make sure it's lined up with the top of your pocket and then slide it over to the slit at the bottom so that it's nice and straight, and then you make the line with your chalk or your dissolvable pen or even a pencil, whatever you decide to use. Don't forget to line up the very top of whatever you're using to the top of the pocket, so that way you have a nice straight line. Here are all of my straight lines. I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and starting at the top folded part of your pocket, so all the way down each line, remembering to back stitch at the beginning. You don't have to at the end. Here is mine top stitched. I will wipe off the chalk a little bit later and it won't show on the outside of my product right here. And here are all of my sewn lines. Make sure you go slowly over these as you're sewing so you don't make any crooked mistakes with your stitching. You will notice on the left and the right side right here, the pockets are a little bit wider, and that's just to allow for seam allowance. To tie my holder closed, I'm going to use a piece of 5/8 of an inch ribbon. I cut the ends at a slant and I measured it 2 times the width of my entire crayon marker holder. Then you're going to fold it in half. I want the polka dots on the inside, so I actually folded it right side out, but typically you want to see the right side of the ribbon, so you want to fold the right sides together. Place the folded side of your ribbon about 1/4 of an inch off the edge of the right side of your holder. Sew this in place using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just to hold it in place. Here's mine sewn just to hold it in place. You can see I stayed right close to the edge and there's a little bit overlapping, and that's just to make sure that our stitches always catch it. Now you're going to get the front part of your roll up, and if you want to, go ahead and add your fusible fleece backing to this. This is the fleece side, and if I flip it over, you'll see the dots. These are glue dots. You're gonna put those glue dots right onto the back side of your fabric, and then you're going to turn the entire thing around, put a piece of scrap fabric right on top of it, and then you're going to press this with your iron, not using steam. This gives the crayon marker holder a little bit of thickness. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this. I just like to do this with anything that I'm going to use for my little ones because it makes it a little bit sturdier too. And I did cut my fusible fleece interfacing about 1/4 of an inch smaller than all of my edges. So now let's get our main piece that we've been working on and get your front side of your crayon marker holder and lay them with the right sides together. And then starting at the top, you're going to sew all the way around your crayon marker holder using about a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and leaving about a 4-inch opening right up here at the top. We're going to use this opening to flip this fabric right side out here in a minute. Here's mine all sewn, and you can see I left about a 4-inch opening right up here at the top. And the next thing that you want to do is go to each of your 4 corners and make a diagonal snip with your scissors just to reduce the bulk at those corners. Make sure not to cut through any of your stitches, you just want to cut right up to them. After you've done that, go to where your ribbon piece is and make sure to clip off any excess ribbon that might still be hanging. And now we are ready to flip this right side out through that 4-inch hole opening we left at the top. To do that, I put my hand inside and grab one of the corners on the inside and pull it out through that hole opening, and I just work it out best I can with my fingers. I also like to use a chopstick. I put it right inside that hole and press all of my 4 corners, and I open up all of the 4 seams along all the 4 sides. Make sure not to press too hard at your corners because that chopstick can go right through those stitches. Now I'm going to put this onto my ironing mat, and we want to work on closing this 4-inch opening at the top. to do that, I put both of my pointer fingers, my index fingers right here, along the seams of that opening. I pull it apart and my fabric normally automatically flips inward. And when you do that, it pushes it in about 1/4 of an inch, which is what your seam allowance was. And then you want to just crease it with your hand and then press it with your iron to hold it in place. You can pin or clip this if you need to, but starting at your hole opening, go ahead and top stitch around the entire crayon marker holder using about a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Here is mine all sewn and top stitched. You can see I stayed right close to the edges, and you are completely finished. Now the only thing you have left to do is to add your crayon or markers. I did make this pattern a little bit taller than the crayons, and that's so the markers will also fit inside this if you don't want to use it with crayons. This project is super fast and easy to make. I have 4 children myself, and they have all used them multiple times. And I like to give them as gifts to little birthday parties. I pair them with crayons, markers, a coloring book, and a tote bag, which we also have patterns for as well. I am also a nurse, and to some of our elderly patients in nursing homes that I've worked at in the past, I like to give these to the ones that like to color to keep busy. So these are great really for any age. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have fun sewing along with me. Please, please, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel to see all of our easy sewing patterns as they're released. Visit aloha-sewing-company.com, or the link is down below in the description box on YouTube to see all of our super easy sewing patterns that you can print at home so you can start to sew faster. We make sewing patterns for literally everything, from baby items, kids' clothes, decorations, holiday stuff and gifts, bags and more. And before you go, mahalo.